Yes. They have this out with the magazines, the 2019 calendar. The Human Rights Watch. Oh, I friended them on Facebook, and it could be that they have some knowledge of what's going on. Yes. People at risk of abuse. Uh-huh. Independent international organization. Oh, but they have their office in the Empire State Building. Oh. And I thought, that's in New York City, and look at all the people that live there. Pooch. Now they probably don't drive a lot. There's a lot of commuters in New York City and a lot of buses. Why don't you give me the transit systems again and the exact cost of a bus? And then if there is room for an additional gear in their in their axles. Now let's say you're in New York City. It's kind of crowded. There's a lot of people living there, and you work for the Human Rights Watch, and you work in the Empire State Building. And you don't like to drive that much in New York City, do you? There's a lot of taxi drivers. Now out here, oh, look at here. There's next to nobody out there. There's no cars. They wouldn't be interested in this type of invention. In Tanzania, food. You know, I'm thinking, ooh, it could be that major metropolitan cities would be much more interested in my inventions than Turkana, Kenya. I don't see any cars or buses out there. Ooh. Now, World Day of Social Justice. Oh, International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. Now look at this girl here. She's in Nepal, and that's a very crowded city. Yes, it is. Now, this International Criminal Court, is there some human rights groups that are a little concerned about what the United States is doing? See, I'm concerned about these people. Pooch. I had mentioned that I wanted to provide housing for at least 1 billion citizens of humanity. Maybe make this a mile or 2 mile wide strip of desalinated ocean water around the equator so as to cool things down. It doesn't take a whole lot. Now, there's this woman in Bangladesh. Yes. And there's some girls in Kenya. Oh, I wonder, oops, and this boy in Thailand. I had known this woman, and her husband were missionaries to Thailand. In fact, I know multiple families, but I had seen some of her Facebook posts, and I thought, well, you know what? This little boy at 7 years old is pouring water on his head, and he has. Well, I still want to produce that 2 trillion gallons. Now, this is a young. What's interesting here is this woman is unmarried. Oh, seems to make something. Is there a reason why they defined a married and unmarried girl? Oh, because why wouldn't you just say a young girl stands amid a herd of cattle outside of Bor, the capital of Jonglei State in South Sudan? Is marriage really important to those in other nations? Because it seems like it's not that important. Is it important in other nations? See, you issued a dissolution of marriage, and it's obstructing me from getting married or being able to divorce my wife. Oh, Kabul, Afghanistan. Yeah. They've had quite a bit of conflict there. Yes. Probably don't have a lot of vehicles, but it's hot. If I cooled it down by 3 or 4 degrees a year, would it make a difference? Would it make a difference to them? See, it's not that expensive to solve some of these problems if you understand the inventiveness. Now, these are, yes, widowed women in the Mount Elgon region of Kenya. And I just wondered, if you're widowed, does that mean that you're not remarried, or it means that you lost your spouse? Exactly how do you define being a widow in another nation? Now, the question is, would you say a collective group of women that are married that were widowed because, well, are they? eligible for marriage or are they not? I mean, if they don't have a husband, does widowed mean that you're no longer married? See, I don't know why they write the sentences the way they do. A young boy is covered with residue from liquid mine waste, illegally panning for gold in Papua New Guinea. Oh, that's gotta kind of be a tough job. I thought about it for for a few seconds. How would I like to have to go out there, and if I don't get any gold, I'm probably not going to eat. There seems to be, and then there's this woman right here. Sujita Malya, a 14-year-old, holds her 6-month-old neighbor, Sumina, in her village of Nepal. Did you know that some girls get married at younger than 16 years old? In some cultures, the age of consent in marriage is 14 years old. Now, I went through the actual ages of marriage in the United States. I got to thinking about virgins last night. You know, there's a right way to lose your virginity and a wrong way. Pooch. Seemed like some dog said, well, just fuck the pussy. Pooch. Now, my problem was, how do I help a woman understand that first sexual experience? You remember that quarter inch above the pinky? Yes. And that hymen that I said, don't break that unless you want a baby. I think that this pinky finger, yes, for newlyweds that are 15 or 16 years old in other nations, if they understood the importance of the first sexual experience, it can make a big difference about how much they love each other. Now, let's say you want to obstruct my right to affect humanity. And I helped a new couple that just got married at 14 to 16 years old. And I said, now, this first sexual experience, yes, don't try to put it in there. You start with the pinky first. And you make sure that you have a fingernail on your pinky. Yes. And when the man starts with just the pinky and you go really super slow, I mean, so slow, eventually you'll get 2 fingers in there. Oh my gosh. Now, for some women that are, do you know how to lose your virginity without it hurting?